What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 12 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Aranessa Saltspite campaign. So as we saw last time, Madeline, Maddie the Mad's Marauders faced off against the Bleak Coast Buccaneers of Black Buckthorn and did manage to carry the day, though it was an epic battle and it was, well, it was down to the wire there for a bit. Nonetheless, that's another piece of 8 acquired, and Madeline's army remains alive. Okay, alive is a strong word. It remains intact. We're gonna have her try to capture Somjek here and then hopefully trade Somjek to the ogres here, because frankly they don't like us very much right now, despite the fact that we share some enemies. But oh well. Hopefully we can make this work, because I really want access to a few of those ogre units. And they may not be nautical themed, but if we can make ogre armies, then that would be lovely. And I'm sure things like lead belchers would fit nicely with the theme. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. The other thing we left off last episode was 2 full Skaven stacks sitting outside of a Gilas, which Harry Halfmast is going to have to deal with. Not much of a choice there, and I imagine this will be pretty tough. I see a decent amount of elites here, and namely Storm Vermin with halberds. Now, Storm Vermin with halberds will rip apart a unit of animated hulks without too much trouble, especially since these guys have such low melee defense, and the fact that we won't be able to heal them because we have no winds of magic. So this is going to be problematic, but we'll have to give it a shot. That said, there's other things to do, so let's get going. We are going to, I guess, have Aranessa chase these guys down. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to, but we'll see. Alright, looks like he's moved pretty far. Yeah, we can move that. Oh, no, I lied. We can, in fact, move that far. But can we move that far twice? I'm gonna say probably not. Okay, go after Stromny first. This will mean trespassing on the Golden Order territory, but obviously we don't care about that. Frankly, I don't even really care about Carrick Norn, but, you know, they're here, and we should probably destroy them. Yeah, see, we'll have 8% left if we go after this guy. I think we're not gonna do that. Go here. Alright, then what we're going to want to do, Nessie, is in camp. And we're going to want to send Lana the Stasher to do this. Delete the zombie pirate gunnery mobs, like so, because we need them here no more. And then you're going to march stance all the way to Nessie. And we're going to begin our retrofit. It's going to be probably a few turns before we can complete it, but I'd like it more or less complete, other than the Leviathans, which are going to replace the deck gunners, but it'll be a while before we can tech up all the way to them. Anyway, the mortars and the rotting Prometheans are out, and I guess all the Sartosans are out as well. Replace them with 1, 2, 3, 4... Okay, this should work. I think. Unless I miscalculated, it should work. And we should also build up the weather deck, because we'll need those Sartosa pirate mercenaries up and running. And we may as well start working on the other stuff, like the cargo hold, for example, which, if nothing else, will give us additional Morngul Haunter capacity. Lovely. Yeah, I guess we could start building you up as well, just so that we have eventual Terrorgeist capacity. It's not like we really need any of the stuff that's over here. I'd like the Necrofex capacity as well. The Helm is kind of garbage. Plus 100% casualty suffered from vampiric attrition. And the thing is, Aranessa is pretty much always on the offensive, so this doesn't really do anything for her whatsoever. Though I guess it'll be better than the Sky... Well, not the Sky Cell, the Promethean Anchor. And because the pirate crew growth rate will eventually become useless. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Let's build that lookout seat, shall we? And we'll forego one of these for now in favor of probably building the Great Cabin or something like that. Anyway... Oh, wait, actually, if we're gonna build one of them, it'll probably be this one, the pirate crew recruitment capacity. Ship can have only 1 hull upgrade. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Alright, we'll do that. Then we're going to start retrofitting. Now, the form of the retrofit will be, first of all, we need 2 Sartosa carronades. 1, 2. because, well, we should have them in the Sartosan army, and then I guess 2 rotting Promethean gunnery mobs. We maybe could do 3, but they're horrendously expensive at 2.3k. Oh, wait, actually, we'd have 5 left over, but we'd only have capacity. Yeah, we have to build 3, don't we? I guess we could build them after. Presuming that we build 2 now. Wait, let me see if I can get this right. We'll have to build 4 Sartosan parts. Now that we have to build all of them right now. Damn it. Alright, fine. Fine. There goes all of our cash, but what can you do? Nessie, stay there. There's the retrofit toward the retrofit's beginnings. Harry, we're gonna move you, bud, but give it a second. Recruiter Sea Legs. Give me a second as well. And then Hans Deep Blue, you're actually going to rejoin Sea Legs, so stay near this island, which Sea Legs is gonna get to. Coven, I should say, not Coven. And go over here. I think somebody suggested a... Well, actually... Oh, damn it. No. Don't go near the stupid wood elves.
Yes, my son.
I meant to avoid them so as to not have them all just start annoying us. Treasure Coven. There we go. Good enough.
Be calmed for now.
Alright, and... the other thing we want to do is prepare Maddie for some fighting, and namely, she'll probably get attacked by the jerks that she's besieging at the current time. In terms of what we want to get her, we'll probably want to get held together by screws, as I do want to get at least 4 units of zombie pirate boarding crew in her army, as she's very gunnery heavy. And speaking of her gunnery... the other thing I would like to do is get her another gunnery white, maybe out of Aranessa's army, as she's a little bit closer than Sartosa itself. Let's go for... I'm not a big fan of Dark Majesty. It's not bad, but it's not good on a gunnery white, because the leadership war and character or leadership effect is going to be much more useful on a melee line, whereas this guy is usually, or hopefully, not engaged. If your gunnery white is in melee, you've already done something terribly wrong. So Herald, Kelpclaw with a little bit of armor and melee defense, though to be fair, that's also kind of in the same situation, where if you're needing the toughness, you're also in trouble, eh? This would at least help you with Raised Dead and the extra... You know what? Maybe we do go Dark Majesty. I mean, I guess we could make a tough gunnery white. I don't know. They're both fine. I'll just go with tough. Usually I would pick tough, so I'm gonna continue picking tough. And yeah, you go down here and to join Maddie's army in a few turns. What can you do, by the way? You can steal tech. Iffy. Let's immediately get you Cackle Fruit, Enchanted Ballistics, and Dead Eyes. Maybe 1 point in Powder Keg, and then all the way through to Lucky Spyglass. Alright. And we'll level Nessie when needed. Alright, Harry, you're gonna move last, because I need to figure out what exactly I want to do with you. Then we want to move Recruiter Sea Legs right to Capelli, or whatever it was called. Yes, Capelli. Right here. Then, while at Capelli, we can upgrade this, because it'll be cheaper. At 840, and I guess we'll build the Midnight Gambling Den. It's not really... Ugh, you know what? No, I'm still not building it. It's still not worth it. It'll take too long to pay for itself, even with 2 ports in the region. Yeah, plus, wait, how much percent does it give? Plus 5% at 840. I mean, it will pay for itself. I'm just not sure that we want to waste the money right now on it. No, I don't want to waste the money. I think we have better use for it. You need to move back to Lucchini right here, but only at the edge of the territory, because then you're going to head southward through this mysterious island. Alright, we have 9.3k remaining. Then... we want to check diplomacy to see if we can't get any money back. Pestilence wants a non-aggression pact. We're not going to do that because they're against the Disciples of the Maw. Though I suppose what we could do is a temporary non-aggression pact with them. Or no, a temporary trade agreement. Not a non-aggression pact. What's the difference in money? We get 1.4k versus we get 2.2k for the non-aggression pact. Ogres won't like that very much. But it is money. And if these guys survive... Nah, but then tank our reputation with the ogres. 2K though. Oh, I don't know, man. You know what? We'll just split the difference. Do the trade agreement, not the non-aggression pact. Alright, that makes sense. And then we have Clan Fester here, who actually wants a defensive alliance. I'm not sure we want that, necessarily. Let's just do the military axis for now, and we might do defensive alliance with them later on as well. I don't see why not. Probably before we attack this little mini Kislevite faction, I should say. Alright, we're back to 12k. We should double check the buildings, and then we should attack. Alright, Lucchini, we've checked you, you're fine. We can upgrade the Midnight Gambling Den here, it ain't bad, and same with you. And Back Alley is always a focus. These are at level 2, and then we're leaving them. We're moving to Sartosa to reduce the construction cost, and in fact, I've kind of changed my mind about the swag sags here. I'm going to delete them and replace them with another military structure. I have a feeling we're going to be getting a lot of military structures up in this territory, and the extra 40% income from this meat market, probably not worth the effort. Or not worth the slot, I should say, in Sartosa. Sartosa's not our money-making province, after all. Carrick Grom, Zarek and Kaza de Citizen. Assuming that we're actually keeping this place, and I guess we might be, we'll have to build the Brimstone Cutter Workshop here. And then I suppose immediately upgrade Grom with the Dead Pirates holdout and get those swag sacks up and running. Alright. Gualcazar, you're a bigger issue. And one I don't want to deal with right now, so I'm going to leave you alone. Then what we're going to do is we're going to summon a Temporary Lord. And the Temporary Lord type that we're going to summon... there's a Murderer right here, good. The reason I wanted Murderer was for the enemy leadership -2. Good for debuffing the enemy in the region. And we're going to pop you in here. And in Agilas, I guess. Then we're going to raise dead. Now the biggest problem, as I've said before with Harry Halfmast's army, is that he cannot chase things. So we're going to... Ooh... This also would be a decent option for bloated corpse time. And we wouldn't have enough money to raise everything here. We'd get the money back by destroying these armies if we were successful. Okay, fine. Wait. I got this, guys. Cancel the upgraded Karagrom for a second. Then we're going to raise some bloated corpses as a follower army, and the doggo and the bats, namely stuff to chase. Now, I'm almost tempted to raise some zombie-powered gunnery mobs as well, but I also don't want to scare the Skaven, in the sense that we kind of want them to run out, or to not run away. And again, will they run from a zombie-powered gunnery mob? I have a feeling that they won't.
Admiral of the fleet.
And these things are okay at chasing, but their speed is at 25, and Skaven with Scurry Away are so fast that they just won't be able to chase. Nah, screw it. Leave it alone, we'll have the dogs and the bats chase, and for now, we shall strike. Wait, can you go into... No, you can't reach them, okay. I was hoping the stance could be changed. Anyway, let's see if this works.
I have sailed
And we'll pop a few... Ooh. Big pop-up. There we go. Nice. And I think that worked. Yes, indeed it did. I got that name in there real quick. And yes, indeed, they are not running. We got 5-10 storm vermin to contend with, a few artillery pieces, and just an absolute ton of clan rats. Clan rats obviously not a big concern, though. Also, before we get started, we did once again reach the like and comment threshold, though just barely so. The offer does still stand at 300 likes and 50 comments for the next episode to be an hour, but if this is the last hour episode, if we don't reach a threshold next time, let's at least make it a good one. Here we go. Time to cook some rats.
On your word!
Alrighty, here we go. So many rats to deal with, and we'll try our best to pull it off, though this is gonna be dangerous. Once again, the problem with the lack of mana / winds of magic that we have in the current army, because it's lost all its magics and there is no channeling stance for the Vampire Coast is the fact that we can't heal, and well, that's a general problem for vampiric armies. Now, this particular army, in relying on those animated hulks who have very low melee defense, they really need heals to be kept up. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we're gonna start the battle off with a little bit of an artillery duel. Fortunately, the hulks aren't particularly scared of enemy plague claw catapults, and we'll see just how long it takes our 3 units of carronades to actually knock these guys down. They seem to be doing an okay job at targeting individual artillery pieces here, periodically destroying them, although it is taking quite a bit of time, especially considering that 3 carronades have been firing at this one plague claw catapult for over a minute. Quite a bit, ever since the beginning of the battle, and it has now at 1 minute and 30 seconds. That seems like it's too long, doesn't it? 1 minute and 30 seconds to lose half the plague claws in a single mob or whatever to all of these 3 carronades. I would have liked them to do better, but we will try to replace them, or at least get a couple of Sartosan carronades in here instead and make some comparisons, despite their relative lack of range. Anyway, over on this side, did I already miss it? Okay, I might have missed it. There was a brood horror that ran around this way, and the man-eaters took a bunch of shots at it, and the brood horror turned and ran away off the field after dropping to like 20% HP, or something like that. We've already seen the effectiveness of those units of ogre pistols against the larger entities, and they're no slouches against that brood horror either. But of course there was no way that they were going to catch it, because brood horrors are insanely fast. Though it is fun when you're playing Skaven yourself and can zip around the field on them. Anyway, it looks like at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the last of the plague catapults is soon to drop. They're down to only 1. I also want to point out, for the entirety of this time, the mortar by itself has been attacking the other plague claw catapult and has done absolutely nothing. If our army was a lot more infantry heavy, this would have been a real problem, as the enemy artillery would have done too much damage. Yeah, 3 minutes. You should do a little better artillery. I mean, I guess if we want to target enemy artillery, we're better off using something like a deck gunner, but the deck gunners don't have the range to artillery duel against most enemy artillery. Anyway, we'll allow the carronades to continue firing while the ogres continue skirmishing as they do. They've gotten that brood horror off the field, and I believe they've also gotten a unit of not rat ogres, but wolf rats are either off the field or heavily damaged enough to not bother them right now. Some storm vermin and various other rats are chasing them. We were trying to focus down the storm vermin with halberds in particular, as obviously our monstrous units and animated hulks and ogres alike, I guess they're all ogres, but our large units are all more scared of all those halberds. Taking a few of them out with every shot, but it looks like the enemy army is sufficiently annoyed now to start heading towards our main host. And we'll see if we can hold them. It looks like the first of the enemies will be arriving over on this flank, but like water around the rocks, they're going to not bring these Manann's chosen, but animated hooks down in general. Especially not without storm vermin with halberds over on this side. There we go. Alright, while these guys hold them off, we'll join a few more in, and the main portion of our army will hold off the main portion of the enemies. I also want to point out I've hidden all 4 of our units of zombie pirate gunnery mob bombers. I should really just start saying bombers, such that as many enemies can get blobbed up as possible before unleashing the bombs. We don't want the enemy to know they're there so that they don't try to engage them in combat, as I'm reasonably sure that the animated hulks should be able to hold for a decent time. I love holding a hill against massive hordes of Skaven. It's a very fun time. Honestly, some of my favorite battle memories throughout the game, the various Total Warhammers, in fact. We had some great fights like this in the Total Warhammer 2 Thoric campaign, absolute ages ago. But since Thorek had a lot of fights against Skaven, had those special missions against Skaven as well, there was a lot of this. So it was pretty glorious. And we're replicating a little bit more of it here. More halberdiers moving in now, and we're holding off a decent amount. The units of bombers are now starting to move out of where they were hidden. Looks like a lot of our animated hulks have surrounded this poor unit of clan rats and whatever other unit was there. And these guys should be brought down without issue. On the bright side, we've also been able to destroy that enemy artillery piece, the second artillery piece, and now no longer fear enemy artillery. Still holding. Harry Half-Mast in the center of it all, swinging away with, well, he's not really swinging away with his halberd. He's kind of just sitting up there, enjoying himself. Ooh, love watching those carronade cannonballs sailing overhead while we fight, though. And the Skaven just keep on coming. That's, well, that's what it means to fight the rats. Alrighty, but fortunately, by virtue of our bombers, we have a much easier way to clear them, and then simply killing them one by one. Get into position, bombers, and get ready to fire. We're a lob. You don't need much of your skill from when you were living retained in order to lob a bomb. And I'm sure the undead strength probably increases the ability. Alright, it's time to chuck him. Any day now. Y'all prepping? Come on. There you go. And first volley away, right into those blobs. Fantastic. That's gotta hurt, and that's only the beginning. We have a full complement, full ammunition on the bombers. All those explosions. This is not a good hill to be if you're a Skaven. Alright, the volleys continue to fly. Ooh, those animated hulks walking out of that smog, or fog. Smoke. I say all the wrong words. It looked cool is what I was getting at. There we go. It is very, very effective against these infantry armies. I don't know how we'd fare against an extremely range-heavy army here, but in this particular army, it does quite well. We're also protecting our flanks with these two units of man-eaters, though they are starting to take a little bit of damage, and we'll help them out with a few bombs as well. Beautiful. Too bad that we don't have access to living bomber units as well, like Sartosans with bombs. Might be nice. Like a variant of Sartosa militia that has just a few bombs. Not enough for like a bunch of volleys, but like a couple of volleys, like a precursor weapon sort of thing, like the chameleon stalkers. I think that might be nice. But anyway, the bombs have cleaned house as the vast majority of the enemy army has been destroyed, and in fact, the rest of the army has shattered. And we did pretty much run out of ammo on these two units, and I believe we completely ran out of ammo on two others. So yeah, and got a lot, and I mean a lot, of mileage out of those bombs, but don't we always? And I can't say we didn't get a lot of mileage out of all of our animated hulks and ogres holding that hill. Anyway, with that, the battle ends, and we're going to have a lot of chasing to do. Mostly it'll be the ogres and the summoned bats and scurvy dogs doing the work, because nobody else can. And though unfortunately for us, the Skaven run really fast at 47. In fact, out of curiosity, man-eaters with ogre pistols run at 55, so just slightly faster than escaping Skaven. Ain't no way the animated hulks or the bombers are going to catch them, but at the very least the carronades can still take a few shots. And hey, 20k damage for a carronade, I think that's pretty darn decent. It's a low-tier infantry, and I generally dislike cannons, so yeah, I think that's pretty darn okay. Anyway, chase away. Alright, well that wasn't actually all that bad, but the problem even with the advent of a couple of units of Fellbats and those scurvy dogs is that we still just can't chase anything down with this army, and way too many of the enemy units survived, which means if they retreat to their main settlement, we'll have to contend with whatever defenses they have there, plus all of the remnants of these armies. And that said, these armies were also not very problematic just by sheer virtue of the fact that they had very little in the way of range, and thus we could allow them or force them to blob up and fight our various animated hulks, and then get bombed and ripped apart by our units of zombie-powered gunnery mob bombers. 60,000 damage on one of these units and 37k on another. These were the two that entered the battle first, and these were the two held in reserve for a little bit, but damn, 60,000 on a tier 1 unit, that ain't bad at all. Or a tier 2 unit, I don't know, but low tier unit, let's go with that. And then we got 20k and nearly 20k on the Manann's Chosen and the Bloated Buddies. 14.5 parts unknown went well as well, and 12k on the Moz Manglers. And the Nameless one actually did 20k. I'll give you a name, sir. Oh, actually, I might delete you because we need more room in this army, so I'll think about it. Either way, we are going to replenish a tiny bit, considering we didn't get all that damage. And now, you know what? We should be able to stay in our territory. Let's ransom captives instead. And we got 212 kills on our bloated corpse, which ain't the worst thing in the world either. And alright, so what do we have here? Oh, you guys are actually in vampiric territory, which is great. You two. On the one hand, I would love to move Harry forward. On the other hand, if we do, that'll be a problem. Yeah, they're gonna retreat to Spineport. There's nothing we can do about it. If I had had the foresight to summon this guy in Agilas earlier, then maybe, but not at the current time. Oh, well, I guess they just declared war on us, so there was no way to predict it, really. Anyway, on the bright side, the battle, despite the use of Raised Dead, gave us our money back, so we can go back here to Karagram and then re-up in the Dead Pirates holdout. Beautiful. And we still have a little bit of cash remaining, but we'll need that for more Sartosan pirate mercenaries. Hans, you are good, and I do believe we're ready to go for the next turn, which will mean, I'd say 90% likelihood that Maddie here is going to get attacked. Let's level her up completely, just in case. Henrietta Bootycatcher, you're still... We have Old Salt for you. I'm just thinking that your army will be different eventually, because you're going to swap to your brother Richard's army. So what do we get you for now? You have been taking a little bit of damage a few times. Oh, you know what, let's get Deception, Melee Attack, but +8 and Attribute Stock, and neither one's too bad. The Kraken's pull ain't bad either in range armies in particular because of the contact effect at -50% movement. Or -50% speed. It's pretty decent. Anyway, Powder Keg for you, Bootstrap Biltong, and we'll still go for the Utility Belt. And now, on the turn. Building upgrade available, damage outpost available now. If you're wondering why I'm not building the outpost with regards to the Caravan of Blue Roses, it's simply because... Military Alliance? Clan Pestilence? No. 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 You're fighting the ogres. I'd love to ally with you, Skaven, but we need at least one ogre ally. And what I was talking about was we need allegiance with Caravan of Blue Roses anyway, and it's going to keep racking up regardless of whether we have the outpost, right? So, no need to hurry. Anyway, it looks like these guys will attack another Pyrrhic Victory. They do have great swords from and halberdiers here after all. Still, only stand little chance, but still, we're going to fight it cinematically. Away we go. Alrighty, Maddie's Marauders back in action so soon after facing off against those Dwarfen elite, but these guys shouldn't offer too much of a challenge. And we have a pretty darn good position in this particular battle, been able to set up all four of our gunners, as well as our one unit of deck gunners with the siege the artillery, and behind them all. And as the enemy approaches the gun line, and they'll start taking hits. Our two Sirens hidden out front, one on the flanks here to protect against the Empire Knights, and then this one to protect against the other. We, as usual, have our deck droppers working, not waiting in the wings, but working immediately on the enemy army to try to dish out damage and before they move in. It's one of those things about flyers that you have to remember that when you deal your damage matters. Yes, they're not going to be as effective as a unit of handgunners in dishing out sheer damage, but ripping apart a few units before the enemy army even joins battle can be very, very valuable. For example, these units of Empire Knights have been absolutely decimated by the handgunners, and they start to move in to try to chase our Sirens, and then get hit with a volley from our regular units of handguns as well, and try to book it on out of there. Looks like the other Knights are moving in, and they are going to go after our zombie pirate boarding crew. A little bit surprising, and I actually wasn't expecting this, so they're going to charge them in the flanks, though it looks like they don't have a crazy amount of mass. A decent amount of the boarding crew will go flying. Fortunately, the Empire Knights are rather weak, and we are going to move these Sirens to help them out, while the enemy army continues making their way forward. And there's that little invocation of Nehek down on the boarding crew. Unlike Harry Halfmast's army, we have plenty of mana to be getting along with, so we should be able to keep these guys ship-shape as long as we please. Here come the rest of the enemy units. The enemy lord has shown himself foolishly as the handgunners target him and rip him apart before he can do anything. It looks like the bullets that weren't hitting the lord were hitting the unit of swordsmen directly behind them, completely decimating them as well. Gonna take a while for the enemy to actually reach this particular hill. Make their way up there, and good luck to them. And deck gunners are also targeting the more valuable targets, the crossbows first, surprising as that may seem, because simply we are too fragile to allow them to hit us. Crossbows have to die, and then afterwards we can focus on the great swords and the halberdiers. Over in the background, we continue to drop bombs on the enemy. Our deck droppers have gotten rid of the enemy mortar, as well as a couple of units of crossbows back here without too much trouble, and we'll be working on the rest of the crossbows as well, while the mortars continue to target those that the bats aren't near. Sirens holding ground in a fantastic manner as usual. I mean, if they were able to hold off a unit of giant slayers for so long, they're really not going to have a lot of trouble with a mere unit of greatswords. And there we go. Swing those big old swords, but they're just going to pass right through. Alrighty, how we doing back here? The enemies continue trying to make their way up the hill, but aren't having a particularly good time. Losing heads plenty, and then getting stopped in their tracks by the pirate fleet captain and admiral, and then continuing to get gunned down. And at any time the enemy unit gets reasonably close to our gun line, we simply countercharge them with one of our lords or heroes. Though we do have to be careful, as the handgunners, and to a slightly lesser degree the deck gunners, are very dangerous to our own units, as in they could kill off or at least have the HP of a lord with a few shots. Oh, and it looks like a unit of crossbow has made it into range of the handgunners. That's a bad idea. And I just don't think that one's going to work out for you. Over on the flanks, the great swords are still fighting, but by the looks of it, it's not going to be for much longer, as the enemy army is in horrific shape, and the captain and the admiral have joined the Sirens and boarding crew in their fight against the great swords, and the great swords, like the rest of the army, will shatter. Beautiful. Oh, I like that these two have different variations of the Rotting Promethean. Nice. Now I have to wonder if the Rotting Promethean is always the same for captains and always the same for fleet admirals. It'd be neat so you could always pick them apart just by virtue of the type of crabby boy they have as a mount. But anyway, with that, the battle is ours. We're going to do our best to chase and gun down the enemies as we can. Sirens are pretty good at chasing, and the deck droppers ain't bad either. You have to remember that while they do have guns, they still have 38 melee attack and 100 speed, so another little valuable aspect to them, other than the damage they can dish out prior to the enemy joining the fray. Bombers 16k and 17k. Very nice, and I'm sure they'll add numbers to those as well as they knock a few enemy units while chasing, but the rest off screen. Oh wow, an Armor of Destiny? Good job, Maddie. Keep on getting us that good stuff. Speaking of, that was pretty darn effective. 20 units lost. Certainly can't say that it was no problemo, but it was barely a blip on the problemo scale. Let's see. We could heal up to full, but we should be able to auto-resolve the remnants of this thing, so let's just ransom the captives again, regardless of the teensy bit of damage we took. Too bad we couldn't quite destroy it, or we would have been able to just move after this guy right here, but oh well. Armor of Destiny, that's going to go to Aranessa. Tech Researched Admirals Astrolabes. In fact, while we're taking a look at that, Profit is 1.7k kills away, so very close to it. Maddie, switch to Parley Stance and take this place, auto-resolve. 18, almost as much as we took through the battle. Enemy killed in battle and Trickster Shard as well. We have a horde of filched firearms, eh? How much is this worth to you, sir? Thumbjack is worth 73. It is worth the Defensive Alliance. Alright, fantastic. We'll do that next turn. Hopefully they don't attack us before then. Oh, the lordy, alright. Yeah, trade that to them. Probably trade Matorka to them as well. Huh, I wonder how much Kypris is worth to them. What if we were to take Mantreda for ourselves? Not that I really care about these territories, but... just because we already hold Matorka, and there are spices there. How much is it worth to you? Kypris? Where is it? 32. Would we still be able to trade Somjik and do a defense alliance? Not quite. Is it under siege, or has it just been... might have just been sacked. Interesting, though. It is the province capital. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. We may be able to do things. Things that are things. Anyway, Nessie, you should now be able to build your first Sartosa pirate mercs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Expensive though they may be. And we also have our 3... Oh, they also take 2 turns? You gotta be kidding me. I assumed that they would take 1. Huh. Oh, okay, well I guess you're stuck here for a little bit, Nessie, sorry. But we'll be able to name all these guys. I got names aplenty. I know I didn't name anything, well, not much over the last couple of episodes, so that's where it's gonna go. Lana, I don't think you're needed here. I mean, what's the likelihood somebody actually attacks Aranessa's while she's recruiting? Low, right? It's gotta be pretty low. I'm just thinking we send Lana through the River of Echoes for now to go this way, as there's stuff to be concerned with here. Ooh, there's a guy here as well. We should probably summon somebody at Gualcazar just to try to defend it, though our money situation may be problematic in that regard. And yeah, looks like this army moved back towards Spineport, where they will probably defend. Alright, well, first thing we want to do is this. We want to get the Disreputable Admiral because he has recruitment cost minus 25% for units, as we will next be building the Ghost Army and a couple of other things. Lucchini, I would love to upgrade you, but I fear we don't have the money to do so. Maybe after we fight at Spineport? Alright, well, if it's after fighting at Spineport, it looks like we're gonna have to fight at Spineport. You have 40 mana, you have 20.
Admiral of the fleet.
I think I'd rather just give you the hunger so you can add more to the fight rather than anything else. I mean, Inspiring Presence might be useful as well, but yeah, just get the hunger. You can contribute in that way. Then we're going to pop you right here. In encamp stance? Yeah, sure, in encamp stance. A little bit of extra melee defense.
Don't linger.
And then we'll have Harry, after we level him up, attack Caracas, and we'll see what's at Spineport. This may or may not be dangerous, but Harry's been doing pretty good. I wouldn't underestimate him or his army, though he's not actually going to probably continue using this army. I think I might want to swap the ghosts to him. Reasoning being that this army, with all that monstrous infantry, would be better served on one of the ship admirals, one of these guys, because if we give them ghosts, for example, the ghosts are liable to get hit by our own Sartosa grape shot and Zufbar 42 pounders and whatever. The army gun abilities or broadside abilities, whereas these guys are pretty much invulnerable to it and tend to have bunches of infantry blob up around them, which is kind of what this army is based around, so yeah. Anyway, in that light, don't really care about any of this. I'm tempted to get you the hunger as well. No, let's get you the hunger. Keep you up and fighting for longer in the battle, and then you, sir. Get another point in invocation of the heck. You have the hunger just without a point. Kind of weird that the captains do and the admirals don't, wouldn't you say? You'd think the admirals would and the captains wouldn't. Well, actually, you'd think they'd both just have it, but anyway. Keep go, Monkey Jack. You know, let's get up another point in invocation of the heck. Who knows? We might be able to use it a second time. And then you're going to switch to parlay stance this time. Yes, okay, so you should... almost sent the hero by himself. Alright, so you should be able to attack this. I also want to double check Diplo here. Clan Pestilence, Clan Gritok. I really wish I knew or remembered where a lot of these guys were, because I just don't. Let's Clan Fester with that, oh wow, these guys really want a defensive, thing. Alliance. Or, peace, they want peace. What am I saying? I also have an idea. What if we go to rights and we pop Curse of Queen's Cannon? We may need the extra range. You know what, let's do it. Otherwise it's just sitting here and we're not using it, it's bothering me. Extra casualty or punishment rate if needed, but more importantly, extra massive range. On that artillery, funnily enough, we probably could have used it in the first battle, but it's not like we did bad anyway. Anyway. Harry, away you go. Let's see what we're looking at here. I wonder if that counted as trespassing for a valiant defeat. Ooh. Alright, so yeah, they've got the remnants of one army, the remnants of the other army, plus the settlement garrison. The bigger problem, oh my. Yeah, okay, the settlement garrison is going to be much more problematic. They have more artillery, they have death globes and poison winds. I see why this is saying valiant defeat. Perhaps I should have raised more dead. But alas, 'tis too late for that. And so, we're going once more. Harry, it's time for you, buddy. Half-mast, full fury. Get to it. Alrighty, guess we're going another round with the rats. And this time, they're going to be even more dangerous than the last. Not just because they have 3 armies rather than 2, even though 2 of them are still damaged from the last fight, but because of those elite units in the garrison army. On the bright side, if we can manage to pull this off, I do believe this faction will be broken. Alright, so let's see what we can do. Once again, we have a pretty nice hill to hold off against the enemy, but we do have to remember that the enemy artillery will be able to reach us up there. And on top of that, they have those death globes and poison winds and rat ogres. And I believe a warlock engineer as well, so there's certainly stuff to be concerned about. Anyway, as usual, the skirmish begins with the ogre man-eaters, pistoling away as they like to do, and then running back up the hill towards our main line while firing backwards. I'm gonna get a little bit of kills that way, nothing too crazy. 20 rats. Not nothing, at least. and then they'll run behind the lines of the animated hulks. I would say that the animated hulks should be more fragile than the ogre man-eaters, although I suppose they do have the massive 25% physical resistance while they have above 50% HP, so that may put them over. They would be more tanky if we could have heals, but once again this army doesn't have those. Anyway, we're also using them as a sort of guarding unit or defensive unit in this particular battle, or in these two particular battles, or as opposed to what we normally use them like to make use of their unstoppable charge. But since we're not charging and holding the hill to force the enemy rats to blob up, and they have to work on it this way. Not that they mind, because they have plenty to kill and plenty to eat, and that's what an ogre, living or dead, wants anyway. And frankly, a lot of them probably aren't physically capable of complaining, because their ogre mouths, at least, are not particularly useful by the looks of it. Most of them are fused into their semi-fish forms. Yeah, alright, very, very nice. Last time I played the Vampire Coast, I don't recall using the animated hulks all that much, so it is nice to and get a decent amount of playtime for him here. Anyway, we are moving in one by one, and this time, unlike last battle, or at least slightly unlike last battle, I did the same thing where I did keep the gunnery mobs hidden, or the bombers hidden, but this time we're going to space out the way in which we send them to fight, since the enemy army will be spaced out. We don't want to waste all their ammunition so that we have to kill rats manually, as while that is fun, the halberdiers and a bunch of the other dangerous units are, well, too dangerous, let's say. So, one unit of zombie pirate gunnery mobs with bombers is out. Does it really count as a gunnery mob if they chuck grenades? Grenadier mob? Should've just called it a grenadier mob. Anyway, bombs away once more. Or at least give them like a pistol sidearm or something. I mean, it's a pistol. How many, it shouldn't be that difficult to carry. Although I suppose considering they're bombers, considering they are zombies, they may not have the necessary brains left, or memories left to be able to wield both a bomb and a pistol. That'd be too much work. Anyway, bombs at the very least that they're wielding are being reasonably successful, once again dishing out massive damage to the rat hordes, and exploding them while our units of animated hulks hold the line. Ah, this is glorious. This is why the Skaven factions are so damn fun to play against. And frankly, they're very, very fun to play as well. Honestly, Skaven are kind of like the opposite of the Wood Elves. I find them, you hate playing against the Wood Elves, and I don't particularly like playing them that much either. Well, I like using the Forest Spirits, but I don't know. Something about just the pile of archers kind of bores me a little bit. But I do like making piles of tree units, so a little bit, I'll say halfway. But anyway, Skaven are fun to play, and fun to play against, or really fun to play against. And so are the vampires, but I'm too biased there to make an unbiased decision. Anyway, how are we doing? The first army has been pretty much destroyed. The second army is on approach, and the third army cannot yet move on to the field simply because there are already 40 units on the field, and by the looks of it, another maybe a little more than half stack can still enter, so we've got a lot of rats left to kill, and we're still doing pretty okay, and the balance of power is in our favor. The rats have dropped down by about... Actually, I don't know how many they started with, but, well, they don't have 6k, they have 2.6k. Though, of course, those numbers will change as the reinforcements move on to the field as well. Our ogres are starting to take a little bit of damage, nothing crazy, but we do have to be careful about those warlords, as they are pretty okay in melee and might be able to hurt our vampire fleet captain or admirals, I guess. Most of the animated hulks are still holding as well. I believe one of them was starting to take quite a bit of damage. Can't see which one. Should be in here somewhere. Our Lord is taking some damage, and I guess it's this one, Grimbeard's Bulks, that have begun to take a few hits. But it's okay, we'll back them up. I also gotta point out that we have 2 extra units of animated hulks here, regular unnamed animated hulks, and the Beached Boys. They were guarding this flank and were able to destroy 2 units that tried to get around us, and are soon going to join the fray against the main enemy host. And, man, still more rats to come. Alright, well, looks like the battle is just getting started. We have, I believe, the second round of bombs flying in now, as in the second zombie pirate gunnery mob, which is chucking bombs, and the third one has joined the fray as well. The first one is completely out of ammunition. And this is why I staggered them. Alright, double volley, very, very nice. Ooh, and just as the bombs volley in, a rocket comes screaming in from the enemy warlock engineer as well. I'm having so much fun here. Oh, you got all of these hordes of units just trying to make their way up a hill like this. Very, very nice. I gotta give the Skaven credit for doing this sort of thing, and how are those bomb volleys? Yeah, there we go. And of course the mortar is helping out as well. Man, I was thinking we'd go 2 carronades and 2 Sartosan carronades, but in this particular case the mortars are really quite nice. Not sure. We could leave 1 mortar, but that would mean less animated hulks, and I'm pretty happy with their performance so far here. Now, the other great thing about animated hulks is they're one of the cheap units of the faction. They're like zombie pirate gunnery mobs. They're, I want to say, like 100 gold per turn, or a tiny bit less or a tiny bit more. Certainly not very significant. You can build an entire army of them for 2k gold. Those cheap and effective units. Unlike, for example, the zombie pirate gunnery mobs. No, the rotting Promethean gunnery mobs. Which are about 300 gold per turn, so 3 times as much. I'm still going to build a ton of them because they're probably my favorite unit in the faction, at least in terms of performance. From a rule of cool perspective, obviously Depth Guard and Necrofex Colossi take the win there. And frankly, some of the coolest looking units in the entire game. Pretty damn up there. Anyway, how are we doing? While I'm getting distracted, another rocket comes in from that damn enemy warlock engineer, and unfortunately the carronades aren't accurate enough to actually bring the warlock down, so we're not even bothering to fire. There are still damn enemy units to make their way into or onto the battlefield, and at the very least our carronades can continue to fire at enemies and shatter them while they run. Our bats are trying to work over in the background, I should say, though looks like they're not doing a very good job chasing. 4 kills and 192 damage, yeah, they're having a tough time. Maybe I should have tried to get more scurvy dogs, although frankly they're not racking up the kills either. I guess the faction in general isn't particularly good at chasing. I guess overwhelming firepower is the way to go, so that you don't need to chase, or at the very least so that so many enemies are destroyed that you don't need to fight them again. Anyway, looks like the second army and a decent amount of the third army have been pretty much seen off as the animated hulks and bombers continue to hold the line. Very well, I might add. It looks like we've taken quite a bit of damage on the bloated buddies here, who had to back off lest they crumble away. And it looks like the Manann's chosen are below half HP as well, and so is Harry himself. And be careful, bud. A few units of Plague Monks have joined the fray as well, and we'll have to be careful about them. A, because of the poison that they apply, and B, because they will keep on fighting. And plus they're damage dealers, so they may be able to hurt the hulks. I believe we have ammunition on only 1 unit of gunnery mob bombers remaining, so we're going to hope that they dish out a decent amount of damage to the enemy Plague Monks and the enemy Marauders. Looks like they brought some spear-wielding Norskins in. Wellity. Alright, get a couple more volleys in before you run out of ammo, hopefully. What do we got here? Yeah. And the mortar will continue to let fly as well. I love it the way that they all jump up like they're all in trampolines. Or go flying, I should say. Alright, and the balance of power is... actually went a little bit closer to even after the enemy reinforcements made it onto the field. Because the elites, some of the scarier units, have made it in. Marauders with great weapons, 2 units of rat ogres booking their way forward, and unfortunately relatively unharmed by the carronades, despite the carronades' massive range from that Queen Bess ritual rite, whatever. On the bright side, in the background, the scurvy dogs and fellbats are still alive, though for how much longer it remains to be seen, as they're trying to charge forward and make their way towards those enemy artillery pieces. Granted, we could probably snipe the enemy artillery to some degree with our own, but let's hope that our fast movers can take care of them for us. Though I fear the scurvy dogs will die doing this because... Let's see, weapon strength 17 to 17 compared to the 5 or 10 on the scurvy dogs. Yeah, scurvy dogs will still take damage, even fighting artillery crew. And they begin to crumble away. They're just too fragile. Now the bats are a little bit less so because they have a massive 40 or 45 melee defense, so they at least should be able to keep the enemy locked up and not doing much. How are we doing back here? Looks like most of the plague monks have been destroyed. There's still an enemy lord in the middle of the fray, and now it almost looks like we're fighting Norska, or rather than fighting the rats. A little bit of a preview, I guess, as we will be fighting Wulfric, probably within the next few episodes. Well, assuming Wulfric himself is alive, but at least his faction will be fighting. Alright, the rat ogres are facing off against the animated hulks which ain't so great for us, as obviously our units are hurt at this point. Ooh, and one of the carronades looks like it brought down one of our ogres. Be careful about those shots, but we really need those death globes and poison winds and destroy. The poison winds have been attacked, and we're going to try to charge towards the death globes as well before they can do damage. The poison winds at least are out. Though it looks like the units that are charging forward are getting hit by those gutter runner slingers with poison. However, it will not make a difference, as finally the enemy army will shatter. Ooh, that was a heck of a defense, and it looks like one of our units' zombie-powered gunnery mob bombers will begin to disintegrate. It was actually just crumbling, and then it begins to disintegrate after the battle is over. How dare you? Certainly units still take leadership hits after the battle is over. I think one of the... down go the bombers. Well, let's hope that they revive. The bloated buddies here, I'm a little bit worried about their leadership as well. And that wasn't another unit, was it? Or maybe it was the same unit. Anyway, the last of the few plague monks still have to be destroyed, so the battle is not over. But there ain't too many of them left, and they're now outnumbered by this horrifying mass of animated hulks. And the animated hulks certainly took damage. Bloated buddies down to 9 and 10, 15 maybe % HP. Rotting maws and down to about a third or maybe a quarter of their HP as well. Yeah, everybody did work. Everybody needed to do work here. I forgot to mention this. We used 1 out of the 3 bloated corpses. We ended up staggering our bombers well enough so that we didn't need to rely on the bloated corpses to do massive damage to those enemy blobs, and the enemy ran out of rats before we ran out of bombs, really. So I was reasonably happy with that. Anyway, chasing to do best we can to hopefully be able to auto-resolve the remnants of the enemy, but off screen. Alrighty, another very nice fight Poor Harry, though once again a solid number of enemy troops did manage their escape. That was, well, inescapable, as these guys just can't chase well enough. We were able to get by without bothering to use the bloated corpses, and we'll hopefully save them for something a little bit more dangerous as we go. The only unit we lost, the zombie-powered Grimhammer bombers, died after the battle is over. Once again, second time that's happened. They were crumbling, and I couldn't end the battle because I had to chase enemy troops down. I really think that this is dumb, as in, if you can't heal your units after the battle like you can't in SFO, though you could in vanilla, then your units should not be able to crumble away where you cannot do anything about it. It's silly. And even if that is necessary, then they should have a 100% chance of the dead rising again right after the battle if they crumble away in that manner. You know what I mean? It's odd. It's odd. Sorry, little guys, but you're out. We'll replace you with actually probably flying bombers, but bombers nonetheless. Anyway, I think we have to heal up. There's enough enemy units remaining to still be a concern, so we'll do that. And that should activate the Prophet, yes? 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 Ranger Standard, Scuttle Revealed, Assured Assailant, Ratcatcher, Opal Amulet, Prophet. There we go. Winds of Magic Power Reserve +5, Campaign Movement Range +10, all armies, 25% research, the biggest thing that we wanted out of this. Blood Frenzy, which would have helped here for the increase of vigor and piercing damage, and frankly, the speed as well, as it would help in chasing. Control +5, kind of irrelevant to us right now, but lots of decent stuff here. The research is the biggest thing because this will enable us to reasonably quickly and get the gunnery crews going. So that's what we'll do. And we'll probably still want to get the admirals, the elite, the legendary admirals on the field as fast as possible, simply so that they can start growing their ships, as obviously that's going to take a while. You, sir, can still draw out the enemy. I doubt that it will let us auto-resolve this. I might just do this between the episodes or something, because if it won't let us auto-resolve it, then I'll have to fight it manually, and this will be kind of a waste of time with all these guys so badly hurt and us, well, still hurt, but not so badly. Either way, this issue is effectively resolved, and Clan Scuttle is just about gone, or will be so, over the course of the next episode. Speaking of next episode, we are out of time, and I will call it once again here. And next time, we will, after taking this, probably loop back northward towards these territories as the Norskins be coming. On top of that, Recruiter Sealegs will move towards Sartosa, begin recruiting the Ghost and Mourngul army, the Vanguard deployment stalking army. Aranessa will complete her own retrofit / army in a couple turns as well, and I've got names picked out for pretty much every single unit here, so we'll get all of those in there and then send her probably southward like this through these territories, take out Kislev while Maddie's forces, the Marauders, move south through the South Confederacy, and possibly by then these guys will betray us. It's probably going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see. Some great rad battles this time around. Stay tuned for more, hopefully, glorious pirate action. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments, especially to Threshold, if we can. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.